If you're a new viewer, Birdie's here. Hi, I'm Nicole and welcome to episode 74 of the Nicole Stitches podcast. I am a left-handed crocheter, knitter, and general crafter coming to you from Northern Virginia, where I work and live with my husband, our cat Webster, and our kitten Birdie. You can keep up with me on Instagram at NicoleSPDesigns, on Ravelry as she writes things, on Pinterest at NSP Designs, and in my shop, nspdesigns.com, where I make and sell handmade project bags, notions pouches, and other fiber accessories, as well as original crochet patterns. There's a Ravelry group for the podcast, and you can go there to find a Get to Know Us thread where you can introduce yourself and get to know other members of the group. It's where you can find a Q&A thread where you can leave me questions that I'll answer in a future video. And it's also where you'll find the monthly pattern giveaway thread where you can enter to win a pattern of your choice featured on the podcast in the preceding month. If you're a new viewer, Birdie's here. If you're a new viewer, welcome, hello. Thanks so much for choosing to spend a little time with me. I hope you enjoy it. If you're a return viewer, thanks for coming back. So that is all my normal beginning stuff out of the way, and I have a lot of stuff to cover. So I did actually do something a little different this time and write up show notes for myself. First of all, I do often like to have show notes for the podcast with links to everything that I talk about, and that was something that I was posting on the blog on my website. I am quite behind on that at this point. I do have intentions to catch up on that quite soon and add in... Birdie, what? What do you need? I do have plans to go back and update all that and put in show notes for all the episodes that are and get that updated, but links to pretty much everything that I talk about are always in the video description below, so you can find them there. The patterns that I'm working on, my social media, new and my Q stuff is always at least in the video description, but I do, or have in the past, liked to keep show notes posted online for you, but I don't usually write down anything for myself as notes before I record, except for I will sometimes do a post-it note with the new and my Q stuff on it. However, this time I had picked up a notebook that I had lying around and written myself actual notes for the episode of stuff I wanted to talk about and things I made sure that I wanted to make sure that I did not forget. But it's not in here. Yeah, I've lost it. It was in a project bag. I think I pulled it out to add some other note to it, and then I left it there, and it's not in here. So we're just gonna roll along and hope that I don't forget anything that I wanted to talk about. All that out of the way, please excuse any background noise that you hear. It is my lunch break. I woke Webster up from a nap very rudely to come in here and record. And Birdie is just birding around, as you saw. So there might be some rustling and stuff in the background. I apologize in advance, but that just is what it is. So this week I have finished objects, including some whining. I have lots of new starts. I have some new project bag swaps, which I'll talk about. I have shop news, and I have new in my queue. So a lot of stuff to talk about. We're just gonna roll in. I'm gonna start with the finished objects. So first I will start with this one, the one that I am happier with. I showed this last week as I think last week when I showed it, it was a new start. But this is an embroidery piece. The shop that I got it from is called Lucy Stitches. And this piece is available from her. I mentioned this last week, but you can get things from her in a few different ways. You can get a PDF download of just the pattern, and then you transfer the design onto your choice of fabric yourself. You can get a printed fabric that has the design on it already, which is what this is. It came this square folded up in a little envelope, I think, with this pattern printed on it for me, or you can get a full kit from her. So I chose to do the fabric with it pre-printed. Something important to note is that the printing that is on here cannot be removed. So you have to stitch, make sure that your stitches cover it. Otherwise your finished piece is going to show those printed lines. So this is my finished piece. All I have done since finishing it is take it out of the hoop. I want to do a quick wash and dry and iron. And then I am going to hoop frame this. So I'm going to put it back in the exact same hoop, finish the back nicely so that it covers my stitch butts. Which are not the tidiest I've ever had, but they're also not the worst. and hang it on the wall above my desk. So this is finished. It was a great project for me to keep around. I used scrap floss for the flowers. I have a little Ziploc bag that's just a bunch of floss. I think it's like old floss that I was using for other things, and so when I wrapped it onto bobbins, I didn't write down the number because it didn't matter, but now I have all this floss that I don't know what number it is. So I've been trying to like use it up on little odds and ends projects like this. So that is what I did here. So I could not tell you the floss numbers for any of these colors, but quite enjoy it. And yeah, I'm really happy with how this came out. Again, I do have to fully finish it, but it is done. It's been done actually for quite a while, and it's just been sitting on my sewing table, but I'll get to it. And my next finish was the odyssey that has been the Baby Bear Cardigan by Appalachian Baby Design. Now, let me make a disclaimer here. Not all construction methods are for everyone. Some people really like certain methods and some people don't. You know, I don't mean to be mean to the person who designed this pattern or anything. It did come out quite cute, but this would not go in a hall of fame of my finished products I'm proud of by any means. I had a lot of issues with the pattern. I kind of went into detail on them last week, and I did talk about it in my notes on Ravelry. Ravelry gives you the opportunity to rate and review patterns, and I was quite honest in doing that. Again, I'm not trying to disrespect the designer with this. However, this was a problem. So let me just show you the finished piece first of all. I have woven in the ends. I have not blocked. So I don't know, it might look a little better after blocking. Let me find my shoulders here. Here is the cardigan. Here's the hood with the ears, which are one of the problems. So let me just, yeah, here we go. Sleeves, and the back is also a problem area. They do give you instructions to do, for the button band, to make buttonholes and add buttons. I chose to skip that, and I just did, let me see if I can pull it forward here. I just did some ribbing all the way around to call it a day. I did that for a couple of reasons. Number one, I was really just frustrated with the pattern and kind of fed up at this point. I just wanted it to be done. And just knitting some ribbing and calling it a day was faster than futzing with buttonholes, which I've never done before also. And I didn't really feel like letting this pattern be my first foray into it. I just wanted to get it over with, so I just did ribbing and called it a day. Number two, this is meant for a baby, and obviously there are plenty of baby garments that have buttons on them and button closures and stuff, but I just felt like I didn't want to present a baby with something that they could maybe, possibly, feasibly pop the buttons off of and like put the button in their mouth. It's just my choice. I may very well make a baby card in the future that I do put buttons on, but this time I was like, you know what, let's just not. So last time I showed you, I think I had the body done but not the sleeves, and I was working on the hood. So obviously it's done. What you're supposed to do is make the hood. When you sew the hood together, you're supposed to, you make the ears as separate pieces from the hood. When you sew the hood together, you sew the ears into the hood, and then you attach the hood to the body. So first of all, the ear portion of the pattern is just incredibly unclear. It doesn't do a good job of specifying what, like, are you knitting the ear bottom to top or top to bottom? And it's not clearly written, the decrease portion. Hey, Webs. The decrease portion of the pattern is not clearly written, so I think I maybe did it a little bit incorrectly, but I did it based on how I interpreted the pattern. So it's just not written clearly. So I ended up with ears that were kind of pointier probably than they were supposed to be, and I ended up basically kind of sewing them down to make them more round, but even with doing that, they're still kind of pointy. So it, you know, maybe it won't read as a baby bear, but it's some type of baby animal, whatever. Oh, there are 3 sizes that this comes in. I think that it's a 6-month, a 12-month, and an 18-month. I did the 12-month because based on when this babe is going to be born, I I thought that they would probably get the most use out of the 12-month size, and knowing where they live. They live in upstate New York, where it's winter 8 months out of the year. But by the time this baby will be 6 months old, it'll probably be a warmer season, and I don't want them to grow out of it by the time cold happens, you know what I mean? So I just made the 12-month, figuring that they would probably get the most out of it if it is this size. And so I did not like the ear pattern at all. And then it's just so much seaming. This piece, if you're new to the channel and you didn't watch my episode last week, this is a knit flat in separate pieces and sew it all together piece. This is the first time I've done a garment this way. I've done all my other sweaters either bottom up or top down in the round. This is just so much. Knit it flat, seam it, sew it together. It creates so many seams. I mean, here's a sleeve. At this join for a baby, you've got, theoretically you would have, let me say, you've got this side sleeve for down the side of the sweater, you've got the shoulder seam, and then it wanted you to have an all the way around the armhole seam, and it wanted you to knit the sleeves flat and seam that. So then you would have a seam up the sleeve, and in the center of the armpit, which is where you would join the sleeve to the body, you would have a thick, like, bunched up seam, because you've got a seam meeting a seam and then being seamed together, which is so much and so bulky. This is a worsted weight yarn. I knit this, so I'm all over the place with this because I'm so fed up. I knit this in Lion brand jeans yarn, which is 100% acrylic worsted weight yarn in the color Classic. I loved working with this yarn. This yarn was great. I have zero complaints. It comes in fun colors. It's called jeans yarn, so they're all kind of like denim themed colors, but it feels really, really nice. It actually feels like there's cotton in here because it's kind of a nice soft blend. It's got good stretch. It feels like it'll be nice and warm. That I love. The pattern I did not love. So like I said last week, I did not make my sleeves flat, separate items, and then sew them on. I sewed the sides of the sweater to the fronts, or I sewed the back to the front at the sides and just left an armhole. When I was ready for sleeves, I picked up around the armhole the number of stitches it told me to. I basically reverse engineered the sleeve pattern. I read what you're supposed to do because the pattern when you're knitting the sleeves flat has you knit bottom up, so cuff of the sleeve to armpit. So I read the number of stitches you are supposed to have at the armpit, which was at the end of the sleeve pattern, and I picked up that many, and then I decreased down to the number you should have at the cuff as I worked the sleeve. I also did not actually pattern the sleeve as the pattern says. You are supposed to work kind of a section of the sleeve that goes across the shoulder and down the middle of the arm in Irish moss stitch, which is what the entire hood is knit in. It's this textured, kind of like nubby fabric. You're supposed to do a panel all the way down in it. Again, I was just fed up at this point. So what I did was I did a couple inches of the panel and then I gradually decreased it down so that it still matches with the hood, but it kind of looks more just like a little patch of texture. I think that looks nice. I think that's a pretty and interesting detail. I don't think it takes anything away from the sweater, and I didn't have to do that stitch the whole time, which was pretty nice. So that's another change that I made, was how I added the sleeves and then how I did the moss stitch. And finally, when you are ready to put the whole thing together, you are supposed to attach the hood to the body, and then the pattern says easing in fullness, which indicates that there's going to be fullness either in the hood or in the body that you are supposed to ease in as you sew it together. Now, I do sewing, obviously, for my shop, but I've also done some garment sewing in my day, and that is a phrase that is sometimes in garment sewing, and it usually is at sleeves. You are supposed to ease in the shoulder part of the pattern, which is kind of like a bell shape when you look at it flat. You're supposed to ease that in to the armhole because sometimes that bell part will be bigger than the armhole. And it's usually not very much. It's like a little bit that you kind of have to fiddle with to get it to fit right, but it fits nice, it fits snug and flat, and it's just a little bit of fabric. That is not the amount of fullness that I had here. I had a ridiculous amount of fabric. The fullness was in the body, not the hood, first of all, and there was probably a good 2 to 4 inches, I would say, of extra fabric between the body and the hood. I matched up the front edges of the hood, and these side seams of the hood I matched up with the shoulder seams. And then between this back here, which is not in the instructions, by the way, it doesn't tell you to do that, it's just like my common sense dictated that that is what I ought to do to help anchor some of the fullness, because from this side seam of the hood to the front was a good distance. It was the same as the side seam of the body to the front. Those matched up fine, so I just stitched them together. But that left me with all this extra stuff at the back. And try as I might to ease in fullness and make it just fit flat and nice, I could not do that. And I ended up having to basically like kind of gather it in bits. And I tried to make it look evenly gathered on both sides and all that good stuff, and it just didn't do that. It doesn't look very nice back here. I'm not super excited about it. Honestly, if this were going to be for an adult, I would probably rip it out and redo it. But the fact is, this is for a baby who's not going to care what they look like. And also this is for a good friend who is just going to appreciate something, you know, a sweet thing handmade for their child by a friend. I'm sure that, you know, they're not going to mind that it's like that, but I know it's like that. It's not the quality of work that I usually like to give, but it is what it is. I don't expect blocking to really help at all because the stitches are literally sewn together like that, and it's just going to be how it is. I didn't have too many stitches. Like, I was very meticulous in counting my stitches this whole process. It was that the pattern tells you to make it that much bigger, which is kind of bonkers. At the end of the day, I don't know that this pattern was that well written, honestly. I would not say that it was very much at all. It was not clear, certainly. I had my share of struggles and frustrations with it, and that was just like the cherry on top. So after that is when you're supposed to pick up and stitch the button band, and by that point I was just like, I'm just gonna finish it so that I don't set it on fire instead. So I just knit a button band and called it a day. And that is the end of my ramblings on the baby bear cardigan. Would I make it again? Maybe, but gonna be honest, I would re-engineer the crap out of it. I would be basically writing my own pattern with that as like a loose basis for numbers. I would never knit it again as it is written. We'll put it that way. Never. I didn't even do that this time. But on to bigger and better things. This is going to be the works in progress / new start section. Let me start actually with the work in progress that you've seen before, but it's in a new bag. So I had this in a holiday themed bag before. I had it in this bag for Christmas time. These are my brush trees. I'm obsessed. In like real life, I'm obsessed with these brush trees. You know, the ones that I'm talking about, they're made out of like, it feels like they're made out of like really, really thick, dense pipe cleaners. They give me a lot of nostalgia, and I'm so happy that they're like making a comeback for a trendy Christmas decor. But this is a fabric I had in my shop, and this was an oopsie that I kept for myself. So for the holiday season, these were living in this bag. Now that Christmas is over, I'm done with winter, and I'm trying to shove it out the door with as much force as I can. So I put it in this bag, which is something I made myself this week. This is Friends themed fabric, as is this fabric, which I'll get to briefly. But the story of this is that I don't sell licensed fabrics, which is what this is, in my shop, because even though technically it's totally fine to do that, you can get big hassle from the companies that these are licensed from for selling stuff made from this fabric. There are some companies, especially one that is very well known for it. They rhyme with Schmisby. They do this really magical thing where if you try to make and sell stuff from their licensed fabrics, they are notorious for going after you, even though you're fine. So I just stay away from licensed stuff to sell, but I found this fabric in Joann, and this is my favorite show of all time. And so I made myself some bags. I had some Christmas bucks and I treated myself. So anyway, I made myself a couple bags in each of these two fabrics, and I moved this project into this bag. These are the Brave at Heart mitts by Dianna Walla, and I'm still working. I am knitting these in KnitPicks Palette, which is a fingering weight yarn. It's all balled up in there. I can't pull it out to show you, but it's a fingering weight yarn in the color Garnet Heather. That's the red. And then I am knitting the yellow is KnitPicks Hawthorne Kettle-Dyed in Compass. So I am very nearly there. But again, I can only work on these a few rows at a time, and then my hands start to hurt even when I'm wearing compression gloves. So it's slow going. Fortunately, my friend, my sister-in-law, who these are for, doesn't mind at all. She knows they're coming now. They were my Christmas gift to her this year. She knows they're on the way. I am so close. I am, I think, 4 rows away from being able to decrease. And at that point, it really does finish quickly, but then I have to knit the thumb. But let me pull out the finished one here. It comes to a point here, you see. So I am very, very close to being done. You can see there. Yeah, I'm right there. But I was kind of hoping maybe, I was trying to see the other night if I could just power through it, but I did not want to cause actual injury to my hands, and they were starting to hurt quite a bit, so I had to set it aside. Again, she knows they're coming, and she doesn't mind that I didn't get them done in time. She totally understands because she's the exact same way. But at this point, honestly, I just want to be rid of these. You know, it is this thing that's hanging in the back of my mind. It is a gift for someone, and I want her to be able to enjoy them. And just knowing that I still have to sit down and knit on these size 1s, which hurt my hands, you know, it's not exciting to have it hanging there in the back of my head. So I do want to get them done. I can only do so much at a time. Maybe within the next week, maybe. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll finish them. Moving on to new starts, which I have several of, which is kind of inexplicable. We're gonna do a knitting new start first. This is a sweater project. And this is, first of all, the first sweater I am finishing off of my Make 9 for the year, which is actually a Make 12. And it is part of the Spellman Sweater Cal 2020, possibly Spellman Sweater 2020 Cal. I'll put the right one on screen. But this is the Spellman sweater, which is by Tristan of Dragon Horde Yarn Co. / Dragon Horde Designs, and she's hosting a cal for it. You can find that on Instagram, and she also, I think, has a thread in her Ravelry group. Let me hold this up for you so you can see it so far. I'm not sure yet which is the front, which is the back of the sweater, because I'm just not that far yet, but here we go. Here's my progress. So this sweater has this cable and bobble detail on the sleeve. You can see quite well here. It's very pretty, and the rest of it is just plain, and it's been a really fun knit so far. I am knitting this in a yarn that is new to me. This is KnitPicks Paragon in the color Sagebrush, and it is a merino alpaca mulberry silk blend. It's a sport weight because the pattern is written for you to hold a fingering weight and a strand of mohair together, or you can knit a sport weight. I chose to go with the sport weight route. And this is, KnitPicks considers this one of their luxury yarns. For a little bit there, right around the holidays, they were having a sale on their luxury yarns, which made this a sweater quantity of it attainable for me budget-wise. And so I grabbed, I decided to use that for this project, and I grabbed a sweater quantity. And the color is actually out there for me. I'm not a big green person. I don't currently have anything green in my wardrobe. And I've decided to let myself branch into green territory again. And I decided that this color, of the ones that were available at the time that I was looking at this yarn, this one I was just drawn to, which was surprising because I don't generally wear green, but I was just drawn to it. I just really liked it. It's this kind of soft, subtle green, like a dusty green, and it's just really pretty. So it's gonna be outside my comfort zone, but I'm really happy with it so far. And yeah, that's my first Make 9 2020 sweater, and I'm excited about it. And this is the other fabric, by the way, that I got for myself. It is covered in cat hair because that is my life, but it's just the Central Perk logo. Next new start is something that I talked about in a prior episode that I had bought yarn for that was a total flop. This is a gift that will be for my forthcoming niece or nephew. And this is the Dirk Dragon Amigurumi pattern by Lalylala. I had bought yarn for this before and begun the project, but it was coming out way too big because I bought the wrong size yarn. So I took that yarn back to Michael's and I returned it, and I looked back through the yarn aisle to find something that would do better because the pattern is written for fingering weight yarn. And what I found was this Patton's Grace, which is a fingering weight, and it is 100% mercerized cotton. So I grabbed skeins of this, the colors I would need. So Dirk is like a little kid in a dragon suit. So I got this color for the like skin tone of the child. This is, whoop. This is all the progress that I have for now. Very little, and I'll explain why in a minute, but this is all I have right now. But it's this, and then the suit will be this color, which it's not exactly mint green, but this is the closest that they had to a mint green. And this is the color scheme that they're going for the nursery, and I wanted it to match. So this, and also he's a dragon, so I wanted it to be a green dragon. And then this will be accents like the wings, and I think the shoes are also like this. And then Dirk also has a little knit scarf that he's wearing that the pattern writer, Lalylala, said was knit from some scrap homespun that was lying around, and you can use whatever for that. So I'm just gonna kind of look and see what I have that I would like to knit up into a little tiny scarf for this buddy, but I haven't gotten there yet, obviously. But I started this because I needed to give my hands, I wanted to do something with my hands, but I needed to give them a break from knitting because of the mitts, and I had already finished my embroidery project. So I decided to take my second stab at Dirk the Dragon, and I started it, and then the yarn for a baby blanket that I want to make arrived, and so I kind of switched my focus to that instead because that is something that I want to get underway sooner than I want Dirk to be finished. So that will move me right onto this project, as a matter of fact. Also, I nearly tipped my camera over, which is why this angle is slightly different now. But this was another bought the yarn and it totally was the bad choice and I failed, and now I'm restarting case. But this is the Dear Baby Blanket, which is one of my designs, and it's a crochet pattern. I wrote it as a baby blanket, but I do include instructions in there for you to adapt it to other sizes. It's a very easily adaptable pattern, so you could make it any size you'd like. And what happened was, I again went to Michael's, saw yarn on sale, bought some for this, got home, started the project. It was awful, so I ripped it out and returned it. And I went and got my tried and true, always my blanket yarn, which is KnitPicks Mighty Stitch. So the main color that I'm making it in this time is white, and then I grabbed a selection of fun, bright colors that I wanted to use for this as well. So this first color here, this is all Mighty Stitch, which is a worsted weight acrylic yarn. Is it a blend? 20% wool, superwash wool, 80% acrylic. This first color that I did this stripe in is called Sky, and then we have Sunflower, Alfalfa, Wisteria, Cotton Candy. So those are going to be my colors. I don't think I have another one in there, do I? No, that's it. So those are going to be the colors. The next stripe that I'm going to do is going to be Sunflower, which is why the label's off it. It's here waiting for me. I am working my way through this pattern, and here is my progress. I have started this, when did I start this? Maybe Monday night or over the weekend? The other day. Here's my progress. So yeah, it does work up really quick. I'm also using a size K hook for this one. The pattern is actually written for a J, but full disclosure, I don't know where my J hooks are. None of them are in my little jar of hooks. I have this jar here, this like fake mason jar, full of hooks that I keep all my crochet hooks in. And my J's are not, like, I have several J hooks because it's one of my preferred sizes. Not in here. Where are they? I don't know. So I'm just using a K instead. Not really making a big difference, but here we are. So this is my progress. It's been really nice to have, and this is kind of what I'm alternating with my knitting. When my hands hurt from knitting with smaller needles, I switch to this to try and get that underway. And the reason that that is something I prioritized over Dirk is that it is for the same babe who will be receiving the baby bear, and that baby shower is sooner. I am not able to attend it, unfortunately, because it is up in New York and I can't get there, sadly, at the time that it is. So I am sending my gift package via the mail, but I do want to send it all together, and because this is done, and a couple other small things that I grabbed for this baby, I have them already. They're like store-bought. I kind of want to get it in the mail so that I get it there to her around the time of the shower, and because it's sooner, I want this stuff done first. So that is that situation. But Dirk will also hopefully be done pretty quickly. I think just because it's so small and it's pretty easy to work through, I think that Dirk the dragon will come together pretty quick. We'll see. And my final new start / work in progress here is in this bag, which is one of my personal favorites. This fabric you can get in the shop. I'm never gonna not be obsessed with this. It's just so weird. I love it. But this is a Flax Sweater, which is a pattern by Tin Can Knits. This is actually a free pattern. They did a series quite a while ago, and it was just a bunch of free patterns that are meant to help you learn knitting basics. So I believe there's a sock pattern, a hat, mitts, which can also be mittens. There's a cardigan, and then I believe there's the flax and the flax light. So the flax and flax light are the same sweater, but flax light is in fingering weight and flax is worsted. And again, it's a free pattern, so it's a really great option if you're afraid of sweater knitting but you want to learn, but you don't want to like spend money on a sweater if you're concerned or you're going to get frustrated or something like that. It's also just like a really nice pattern, so that's good. I've knit a baby flax before, but I knit the flax light. This time I'm doing the regular flax in worsted weight yarn. You're going to recognize this yarn because this is the same blue that is in the Dear Baby blanket. This is KnitPicks Mighty Stitch in Sky. Because I got full skeins of color for the blanket, but really only very little is used, I am going to use the remainder of each skein for other like kid-related projects, because being acrylic yarn, it's easy to care for. You can throw it around, beat it up, put it in the wash, and it's good to go. I've made several blankets out of Mighty Stitch. We have a blanket on our couch that I made for Adam way back when we were just dating, and we beat that thing up. It's a big blanket, and it's constantly like getting tangled up, getting stuck in the couch. The cats cuddle in it, and they make biscuits in it all the time. It holds up really well. It washes nice. It's really soft and cozy, so it's perfect for, kid stuff. So you might be seeing a lot of those colors again, just as I use up the yarn. But this is going to be for my niece or nephew. And again, I am just using up the extra yarn from the Dear Baby blanket, which I actually am not going to have enough of this color according to the pattern to finish the sweater. So I am planning to kind of color block it with white, because I have a lot of white in my stash as well. So I think I might make a chest. It'll be this color to the chest, and then from the chest to the bottom I will kind of do stripes of blue and white, and then I'll figure out the sleeves. Here's where I am. I started this yesterday, so this knits up really quick. Now, I am making the smallest size of this pattern. That's the other thing about the flax, is that I don't know if it's all Tin Can Knits sweater patterns, but every one that I have and that I've seen, their sizes range from 0 to 6 months all the way up into a really inclusive size range of adult sizes. So you get a huge range of sizes for your pattern with this. Again, it's free. I was gonna say you get a huge range of sizes for your money, but you don't spend money. But for example, so this is the Flax Light that I have out because I was trying to decide which one to do. But this says size 0 to 6 months all the way up to 4XL, which is a chest circumference of 59 inches. So that's pretty cool. So I'm knitting the 0 to 6 month size, which is going to be part of why it knits up so quick, is because it's so small. But I'm really liking it. It's pretty good progress for considering I cast it on yesterday. But it's quite cute, and again, it's going to be nice, soft, and cozy. Hopefully a nice quick knit. And, you know, it might be something that I turn to over and over again to keep using up those Mighty Stitch scraps and make some cute, fun, brightly colored sweaters for some babes. And those are all my works in progress. I know it's a lot. I got some startitis in me this week. I usually don't like to have this much stuff going on. You know, I say this a lot. I usually like to have one big project, one small project, and one crochet. But the fact is, I'm making all these gifts. These kids are coming, and I gotta get them done. So I have a few patterns for new in my queue this week. I think this might be the first new in my queue of the year. I had a little bit of a dry spell for this segment for a bit, just because life was busy and I was busy, but I do have some stuff to share this week. So we're gonna start off with Heron Island, which is by Beatrice Perrin-Dolan. This is a beautiful sweater pattern. Beatrice Perrin-Dolan is also the designer of another sweater that I've featured in a previous episode, and that is on my Make 9 for this year, which is the Bravura pullover. It's a colorwork pullover. It's been quite popular lately, so you probably have seen it around, but I kind of took a deep dive into the other patterns that she has available. I marked a number of them on my queue, so don't be surprised if you see more of me talking about her, but this is the one that I wanted to show off this week. Next is Waves of Winter by Tiff Nealon. We know that I love Tiff Nealon. You should just assume from now on that if Tiff Nealon has released a pattern, it is going to show up on my new in my queue segment because I just need to knit everything that she designs. This pattern came out this week. It's a really nice, simple mitt pattern that's got some detail on the back of the hand, but it doesn't look that hard. It's just great. I just love her patterns. She just gets me. Here's the bird having a brief cameo. You want to get down? Goodbye. Next is the Step Aside sweater by Jennifer Beal. Now, this sweater has a very cool and unique look. I love the deal with the side pockety things, but I noticed that the pattern notes talk about steeking. Steeking terrifies me, but I think that I've decided to set a little knitting resolution for myself this year to try steeking. Steeking, if you don't know, is where you cut your knitting in half, basically. It's a technique that people use a lot for like cardigans so that they can still knit it in the round, but then they can cut up the front and have the button band there and have a cardigan. So you knit a special section, like you add stitches that are going to be the panel that you cut up the middle of, and you reinforce it. There's a bunch of techniques I know to reinforce it, and then you just take scissors to your work, which makes me really sweaty. And I've never done it because it makes me really sweaty, but it's like a thing. And it is a technique that I think I am ready to maybe try. Maybe. What I probably honestly will do to at least get my, dip a toe is I'll probably like knit myself a little steekin swatch and do that, and before I commit to like an actual project of any kind. But the point is, I liked this sweater. It looks really nice, but you steek something. I'm not sure what you steek, but I was kind of glancing about the pattern notes on this page and she mentions it. So it's still in my queue, but I just want to put an asterisk that I'm frightened of this sweater. Next up is Scatter, which is a shawl by Yarn Cafe Creations. That would be Christy. She is a yarn dyer and also one half of the Girls in the Yarn Cafe podcast. And I'm not sure if this is a new pattern that she just released or if it's just one that I'm just taking note of because she posted about it. But I like this. It's a nice garter stitch shawl, which means it's like just like a nice turn my brain off and knit type of project with a beautiful end result. There's a little bit of detail, but it's not really thinky. That's my kind of thing. I like that a lot. Next is the Star Stranded Cowl, which is a worsted weight, I believe, colorwork cowl by Jacqueline Cieslak. I hope that's how I say your name. I believe that she has a sweater coming out this year with this colorwork on it, but she has released the cowl, and it's really cool. I really like this pattern. She also mentioned that all of the proceeds from this cowl, I'm not sure if it's for all time or just for like the current era of time that we're in at the moment, will be going to help donate to the people of Australia who are suffering huge fires, and lots of wildlife is being grievously injured and killed and losing their homes. So there's a lot of rescue efforts going around about that, and pattern proceeds from the Star Stranded for at least a while, I think. I will try to put it on screen, or you can always check the link in the description to go there and see it. And she also posted on Instagram about it, so if you want to know like exactly how much or how long donations are going to be happening, you can check that out. But yeah, I love this pattern anyway, and the fact that it's going to go to such an important cause is even better. On that note, I actually meant to talk about this while I talked about Dirk, and I remember now making a note in my show notes that I wanted to talk about it, but I forgot. So here we are. There's a pattern by Lalylala that has been released called, I think it's called Kira Kangaroo, and it is a pattern in a similar style to Dirk, but it's a kangaroo, and all of the proceeds from that pattern are also going to help Australia with handling and recovering from the fires. So again, I will put a link in the description to that, so you can go there and grab the pattern, spread the word about it. There's also an Instagram post on Lalylala's Instagram where you can find out more. And speaking of that, by the way, there is a post circulating about how you can help if you are a knitter, crocheter, sewist, or all of the above. There are things that you can make like bat cozies, bat wraps, maybe they're called, joey pouches, carry pouches, bird nests, and things like that that can be sewn or crocheted or knit or a combination of both. So if you've got a lot of stuff in your stash that you don't know what to do with, or your hands are empty and you want a new project, or you just feel helpless about the fact that this is going on and you want to do something, that is definitely an option. The post that I have seen actually marks what items are most critically needed, or there's like a color coding to show you what they need most. So if I can find a good link to that post, I will put that in the description as well if you're interested in helping. I'm gonna wrap up here real quick with a shop update, and that I have a new pre-order that opened today being Friday, January 10th. If you don't know how my pre-orders work in the shop, basically it is a fabric that I only ever offer via this pre-order. It never goes into regular circulation in my shop, and it is this fabric, which I will put on screen now. This is something that I had people vote about on Instagram. I wasn't sure, I was ready to do a new pre-order, but I wasn't sure what to offer, and I had a couple of things I couldn't decide on, so everyone liked this one the best. It won the polls. So this fabric is now live in my shop, and the way this works is, if you are a US customer, you get free shipping on this because it's going to take a little longer for me to be able to sew and send. And if you're international, it's going to be $4 shipping. You go onto my website, you'll see on the front page of the website that it is there in the slideshow. If you click it, it'll take you right to the listing, or you can just navigate to it on your own. It should be pretty easy to find. You can choose any of my normal bag sizes that you would like. So this, for example, this is a medium. I have one smaller bag size that maybe comes out about this tall. That is a small. This is a large. And then in here we have, you can order a project pouch, which is this size. And then I also have a bundle that I only do for the pre-orders, which is where you can get a medium and a pouch for a discounted price, as opposed to what these two would cost normally if you bought them together from me. So you can choose whatever bag size you want in the fabric. You order your listing, you get free shipping or discounted shipping depending on where you live. The listing is open for 1 week, so it's going to close next Friday the 17th, and when it closes, that is it, and I will not offer this fabric in my shop ever again. So it's kind of a fun limited edition thing. I really like to do this because it allows me to add new fabrics to the shop that are a little more special, and it allows me to maybe add something to my offerings that normally I wouldn't be able to like afford to offer, because with this I'm only ordering the exact amount of fabric that I need to fulfill the orders, so nothing is gonna like sit in inventory and not get bought or whatever. And it's just fun for me to find like these kind of different special fabrics to share with you. I've done some themed ones before. I've done a couple of Stranger Things fabrics. I did a Harry Potter one a while ago, that kind of thing. This is one that I did a while ago. It's cats and cups of coffee. So, you know, it's just kind of like something fun and a little different that I like to add to the shop, and it's special because they're only available for that time, and it's just kind of a cool thing. So anyway, that's live in the shop now. I just wanted to share that if anyone is interested. And I think that's the end of the episode. So again, links to everything are in my description, all of my social media stuff, my website. I'm most active on Instagram. Patterns I talk about and everything are going to be down below. If you are new, I hope you enjoyed it. I appreciate you watching so very much. If you are a return viewer, I hope you had a good time as well. If you want to know every time I post a new video, you can hit the subscribe button and you'll find out. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, comment. We can chat about whatever you thought about anything in the video. It really helps me out. I think that's about it. I hope you have a great week. Get lots of crafting done, and I will see you next time. Bye!